All right, we're going to sketch out the candy dispenser today. This is going to be part of the design process where you start sketching an idea before you actually create the drawing that's going to produce the blueprints for this project. Now, the purpose of this project is to not only demonstrate the skills that you've acquired using Autodesk Inventor, but also get you familiar with the whole process where we're actually going to do a production activity in the wood shop. So what I have here is I have an example of the candy dispenser base, and although it doesn't look like much at this point, it does have several pieces in it that you'll have to draw as IPT files in Autodesk Inventor. This piece here that goes back and forth, that's called the slider. It has a notch in it. The hole is where the candy's going to go through, and the way this works is you bring in a plastic jar, we take the lid, we put it right here on the top of the candy dispenser, we put a hole in the lid, then you screw the jar on, and then you got a candy dispenser. And sorry, we're not going to buy candy for you. We're not that teacher. Anyway, sketching involves just drawing freehand. So if you remember in the beginning of the course, I said the difference between sketching and drawing itself is sketching is freehand, drawing is with tools. So what I have here is I have a pencil, I have some paper, and I have this nasty blemish on my hand, which is going to be gross. So don't pay attention to that. The dermatologist took care of that the other day. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about a few line styles that we're going to look at as we do this. We're going to use, and my pencil's broken. Let me pause real quick. There, see how quickly I sharpened that? Anyway, we're going to start out by using construction lines, and that one's broken too. I better get a few this time. All right, I will not be defeated. I got extras, and I didn't sharpen these. Okay, line styles, construction line. Construction line is going to be a very light, barely visible line. All lines should start out as a construction line. If I was to make a construction line, it would be very faint. A correctly sketched out construction line should not be used at more than an arm's length away. The purpose of the construction line is to set up all line styles, and also so you don't have to go back and do any erasing, because this little fella right here makes big messes. And what we're trying to do is communicate something that needs to go into a technical drawing. We don't want it to be too messy. Then we're going to use an object line. And an object line is just a solid line. It shows visible features in a current view. So if you think about an orthographic projection, and if you're looking at that current view and you see those drawing lines, they would have a solid line. Then we're going to have a hidden line. And you may have seen these in your IDWs for your pegboard toy and for those orthographic conversions. And that's a dashed line. These are used in orthographic projection to show features not visible in a current view. And then the last one that I can think of is going to be the center line. Purpose of the center line is to show the radius of circles and arcs. It's a long line with a short dash in the middle. So, construction line, light, barely visible, should not be seen at more than an arm's length away. All lines will start as construction lines. Object line, solid line, shows features visible in a current view. Hidden line, the dashed line, shows features not visible in a current view. And center line, a long line with a short dash in the middle, show the center of, or the radius or center of circles and arcs. Okay, next piece of paper. This is what we're going to do together. If you remember when we were sketching out the 4 drawing types, I had you fold your paper into quarters. So I do that because I'm a cheater. I need to cheat in some guidelines. I'm going to be dividing my paper up into different areas. So I'm going to fold my paper into quarters. I'm going to unfold my paper, lay it out flat, and I'm not necessarily going to sketch in some guidelines here. I just want to use those creases for splitting up my orthographic drawing and placing in a little isometric, if I get that far. My goal is to at least do the 3 views. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch a border. And I'll start out with very light construction lines. And I make some reference marks in the middle edge. And I try to be very careful to stay parallel with the edge of the paper. Now, if you were paying attention to your IDWs, you would have seen that those had a border around them. And what the border does is it makes it more presentable. It's like a picture frame. So when you go out and you get your school portraits taken and your mom and dad are hanging them up in the hallway in chronological order from preschool to 7th grade, they put them in picture frames. They don't just thumbtack them to the wall. Maybe some people do, but my family doesn't do that. And I've seen a lot of people not do that. So, nice light border first. I know I did that kind of fast. When I have you do it, you should probably do it a little slower. And then we'll go back and darken our border. And I'm going kind of fast. I used to do a lot more sketching with my students. And when I talked about doing sketching, my motto was the first one done is the worst one done. Because if you go too fast, it's not going to look good. But you all had Mr. Onesto. If you were at Aldo, if you're at Ed Stone, you had Miss Wiley, you've probably done a lot of sketching already. So you're probably better than I am. You've probably done more than I have. All right, so here's our border. This is where we're going to sketch in our object. This is actually our top view, but for this application, because it's the view that shows the most information, I am going to make this the front view. I'm going to make this the top view. And then the side view is going to be very similar. So I'm going to start in this lower corner by sketching with construction lines a square. And the square is going to be the outline of the base. Now, when we go to draw this base on the computer, it's going to be 5 inches by 5 inches. So there's the base of our candy dispenser. On top of that, I'm going to put another square. This will be the top. And it's slightly smaller because when we draw this on the computer, it's going to be 4 inches by 4 inches. And then coming out the front here, I'm going to make the slider. And it may not be to scale because it's actually 12 inches long. So I'm not gonna worry so much about the scale. So I go outside a little bit because I know when I do the front view I'll have more room. So let's look at this. Base, top, slider. I need to add this notch. I need to add that hole. And I actually have a little peg right there, peg handle that I'm going to add in as well. So I'm going to put my notch here. It's supposed to be in the middle. That certainly doesn't look like it, but it's a sketch. Carefully sketch my hole and the 2 holes for the round peg. So there's my top view. I'm going to go ahead and darken the visible parts. I'm not going to go through my slider there. So that we have the base, outline of the base, outline of the top next. So I'll try and do these in order. Outline of the hole, outline of the slider. That got really messy because I started going fast because I looked at the timer on my video And I'm like, I better move a little quicker. Shouldn't have broke all those pencils. Alright, something I need to add to this top. It's going to be hard to see, but I have these spacers in here, and they're not visible in this top view. But the spacers hold the slider in place, and they are 1 inch wide. They're actually 3.5 inches long, so I sketched them out too long. But when we do our IDWs for this on the computer, they'll show up as hidden lines. So there's our top view. So now I'm going to try and get the front view done. It's going to be kind of an irregular shape. So what I will do is sketch the overall shape of it. So it should line up with the front. So it's going to be a very light rectangle like that, and then I'm going to have another one over here like this. So this is front, here's our top. We'll do the base, the spacers, and the top. So it's going to go kind of like that when we do it on the computer. So let me darken these layers. And just in the interest of time and space, I'm going to leave out the slider. So here's this profile. We're going to have one set of hidden lines that line up with this hole, and they only go through the top to the slider. So the side view, if we were looking at it like this, our wider side's going to be here. Our spacers, really crooked, looks really bad. I'll try and clean them up when I darken them. And then the top, because I'm at a weird angle. So then I'll try and darken this in so it looks better for that view. Spacers that keep the slider in place, and then the base. Now, I'm going to run out of time, so I am going to leave dimensioning up to you. I'll put in a couple, because here to here is going to be 5 inches. This piece here is going to be 4. These spacers here are going to be 3.5. Slider is going to be 1. And then this spacer over here is also going to be 1. So I will leave you with that. I'm hoping that's enough information that it'll look good when you go to draw it on the computer. So until next time, good luck.